financial education is what sets you free from poverty.
A crypto millionaire at 17, Efe Kelemci has been trading, investing and beating the market since he was 12 years old.
Back when you were 12, 13, you must have been the youngest one doing this. I mean,
Yes.
are you still the youngest?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
some little whippersnappers coming up.
He has got insane knowledge of Bitcoin, Ethereum and the future of finance.
You'd researched for 6 months
Yes.
before going in. So
Yeah.
that was back when you were like 13 or 14.
The research started when I was 12. I was trying to convince my dad to invest a lot earlier. He thought it was a scam.
And in this episode, he pulls back the curtain on exactly how he did it.
Right before the bull run began in 2020, I wasn't able to invest in Dogecoin, which did 100x. My dad and I personally missed it. He was like, okay, I guess you are onto something.
Your dad owes you millions. I know you say you don't like the label of 17-year-old millionaire, but people do like some of the juicy facts.
An interesting stat is if you actually buy $10 of Bitcoin per day for 10 years, you will end up with $1.4 million. I've been doing it for 5 years, but still to this day, my family worries that I'm not doing the right thing.
You said that if you invest $10 a day
Yes.
for 10 years,
Yeah.
you'd have something like $1.3 million.
Correct.
I want to know where you think we're going to be in 10 years' time.
We're creating the money ourselves. So it's a huge Ponzi scheme that people will eventually realize. I don't know if it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years. What I do know for a fact, that's the crisis that we're going to face all across the world.
Guys, Matt Haycock's here and welcome to another great podcast episode. And I'm saying that before we even started because I know how good today's going to be. I have got with me, I said my youngest podcast guest ever. Technically, he's not. My daughter came on when she was about 14 to
Nice.
talk about haters and getting bullied online. But this is my first non-family member guest, 17 years old, Efe, the crypto kid. Thanks a lot for being here, buddy.
Thank you for inviting me.
I mean, it's wild enough to think of you being here at 17 years old and being the crypto millionaire, but your story starts even earlier. I mean, not just as a teenager, but I was doing a bit of research for this, and I think you published a book at 4 years old, or you wrote a book at 4 years old?
I mean, we were just like, it was me and my aunt and we were doing like some children's books, but it's just been like a lot of different entrepreneurial stuff and like just lots of different things. But yeah, I've done a few cool things. Yeah.
I mean, you told me your dad does nothing like what you do. He manufactures soap.
Yeah. So it's like a personal care products. Yeah.
But it's his business. He's an entrepreneur.
I know he's a CEO.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess he rubbed off on you from a young age. You think? I mean, I lived with obviously lived with my dad, lived with my parents, and my dad owned his own business. And despite the fact that we're very different in probably the way we operate businesses in our kind of, let's say, mentality to entrepreneurship, being in that household, definitely had to have been what crafted my early days.
Yeah, for me, like my dad would always tell me about what's happening in the world and about global economics and global matters. So I was very immersed in global issues at a young age, and he always told me what was happening in his business, and he would take me to his work, and I would spend time there. So I think the reason why I was so interested in doing more than just studying at a young age was because of my dad's presence. But he wasn't entrepreneurial, and this is where the clashes I have with him start. Like now I fight with him a lot because he views things, of course he's my father, so he's more paternalistic and he wants to be more protective. And I'm from Turkey, so the way of raising a kid is more conventional, more Middle Eastern, more Caucasian.
He talks, you listen.
Well, yeah, it's not exactly like that, but breaking out of the normal school and university structure and not doing a 9-to-5 is very weird in Turkey. So like when I introduced the idea that I want to do crypto, which is already a very controversial industry, there was a bit of a shock. And still to this day, I mean, I've been doing it for 5 years, but still to this day, my family worries that I'm not doing the right thing. So it's an interesting clash of very traditional parenting and a very unconventional industry, and the people that I work with are massively unconventional. So trying to find the balance is very tough.
I mean, obviously we come from different cultures, you know, Turkey and UK, but I think we're also from different generations, and you know, whilst maybe in the Turkish culture or Middle Eastern culture, like you say, that breaking away from the traditional 9 to 5 and the let's say the stereotypical values is unusual. It's getting probably more common in the, you know, in the Western world, so to speak. But I mean, when I was born, when I was brought up, I mean, I was at school. I mean, I was your age in the 90s, and I came from a completely different era where if you didn't go to university, particularly if you'd been to private school, if you'd been to a good school and then didn't go to university, first of all, you'd wasted your education. You know, why would you go to a good school? Why would your parents pay for you to go to a good school if you then didn't go on to university? And it was almost like semi-disgracing the family, that, you know, that they'd you know, they're a successful family, or they're a business owner, or they're a professional, and you as a kid, you know, you don't go to university. I mean, I used to tell my parents I wanted to go work in the markets. And I kind of did. I mean, I didn't know why. I was just hungry to make money. And obviously, you know, this is, never mind before the days of crypto. This is before the days of the internet.
It's the 1900s.
And you know, I used to want to, I don't know, buy anything, buy chocolate bars, buy toilet rolls, and go and trade them. But yeah, no, I can very much relate to what you're saying. Are you at school now?
Yeah. So I mean, I've decided not to leave because, number one, my school has been super supportive of what I do, and it's a good environment. Like, it's kind of a place. I told my head teacher the other day, I was like, when I'm in school, I feel like I can relax because there's so much stuff going on outside where, I mean, as an entrepreneur, or if you have your own business, or if you're doing something on your own, there isn't any set structure. It's like you have to have the self-discipline to be able to create a structure, and you keep working at it. And now during the bull market, there's just so much happening all at once that sometimes it gets too crazy. So when I go to school, I feel like I can just ground myself and be a kid and enter into an environment which is maybe like a safe net, that there is a certain structure, and I don't need to be creative and just kind of be with friends and take it easy. And I know maybe it's a weak quality to have, but honestly, like, sometimes it gets too much, and being with people your age can help to rewind and reset.
I think it's that wind down as well. You know, what's the word? Almost like decision fatigue. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you've been doing it for a few years. I've been doing it for, you know, 20, 25, 30 years, and I think, you know, sometimes people don't understand. For example, why, when you've been at work all day and you then come home and say, oh, you know, to your girlfriend, to your husband, to your wife, whatever, you know, you can make the decisions, or you know, why do you not get involved in these aspects of home? And when I come home, for example, you know, my girlfriend wants to talk about what restaurant we want to go to, or what colour fabric do you want for the couch. Well, I don't give a fuck. It's not that I don't give a fuck, because obviously, in a way, I'd like to, you know, I'd like to make sure it's exactly like I want it. But I think, you know what, I've been making decisions all day. I've been working all day. I don't, you know, when I step through the door, I don't want to think about anything. You pick the restaurant, you pick the couch. All I'm going to do is sit on it and chill. So I guess, you know, when you've been, you know, I totally again relate to what you're saying. When you've been addling your brain all day thinking about crypto trades, or working on live streams, or hosting a show, or whatever it is you may be doing, to walk into a structure where somebody else is doing the thinking, somebody else is providing, you know, that structure for you just to go into it. I mean, before we started recording, we were talking about podcasts, weren't we? And I said I'd rather be a guest than a host.
Yes.
And it's that same kind of thing, that, you know, just to, you know, I'm jealous of you now, just sitting there and getting to talk about your life and share your experiences and expertise. You know, when I have to think, oh, you know, am I being boring? Am I talking too much? Am I talking too little? How do we move on to the next question?
Hey, Matt here, just interrupting myself to say, can you believe that 62% of listeners to this podcast don't actually subscribe. Now, I know you like it because you listen to it, you come back and the stats are great, but 62% of you don't actually subscribe. So make sure you subscribe, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to your content or watch your content, and make sure that you never miss a future episode.
And what do your friends at school think of you?
I mean, at first, I just started with producing content. So I basically learned, after I stopped musical theater and voice acting, and funnily enough, the first job I had was in this building. So it's pretty cool to, and the office is right next door. So I stopped that in the pandemic, and I just kind of threw myself to how do people make money from stocks. And during COVID, when a lot of people were at home, this was a topic that was brought up a lot. So when I started researching, I found crypto through Raoul Pal, his video on Ethereum.
I remember him.
And he said that Ethereum would go to like $50,000 by the end of 2020, and it was like $800. So I was like, wow, okay, there's a massive opportunity here. And after I started, slowly understanding blockchain technology and investing some of the money I have, I found out that you could actually predict the future in the markets. You could actually predict what's going to happen. And that is through something called technical analysis. So I taught myself technical analysis when I was 12, 13. And by the way, I completely forgot what you asked. I just lost the whole train of thought.
I asked what your friends thought of you, but don't worry, go with the flow.
So basically, when I was doing the trading and when I was doing the technical analysis, I used to do it in school on my computer in class. But my friends would see it, and sometimes my teachers would see it, and they're like, "What is this? Like you're not focusing on work." But at the time, I was making very good money. Like I was making very good money from trading. But I got a little bored from it. It was a bit exhausting. It was mentally exhausting every single day, analyzing, and it felt too much. So I wanted to do something fun, and I have a background in entertainment, and I wanted to mix those two together. So one day I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Da Vinci, and he said that tomorrow morning I have a meetup in Address Skyview in downtown. And I was like, okay, I want to go to this. And I texted him on Instagram, do you let kids under 18 attend your meetups? He didn't reply, but I said, I'm going to just take the shot and see what happens. So I went. I was the youngest by far.
And I was still, 12, 13 at this point?
I think I was either 13 or 14, or just turned 14. And I was the youngest by far. I was asking so many questions, and they were very into it. And I spoke to a lot of them. I approached a lot of them. There was like 9 of them. And eventually I started working with Carl. He's been one of the biggest YouTubers in the space. And we decided to do a channel together. And when I started doing the channel initially, at first I didn't tell anyone, because I feel like if you play dumb and you don't share things with other people, it's just less of a headache. And I was a bit embarrassed. I didn't think my content was the best when I began. And even now when I look back, I'm like, this is so cringy. But at some point, I don't remember exactly when, one of my school friends found it online. And it was just me taking my phone, and it was me recording a video like this. Usually you don't see that on YouTube. Nobody takes a phone and screen records and shares charts. It's very unprofessional. But in crypto, people seem to like it. So when that friend saw it, he was, he shared it with everyone in school, and I got bullied a lot for a few months.
When you say bullied, you mean hardcore bullied, or just like, like a little making fun?
Not like hardcore, but I mean, I'm a very emotional person, so I get impacted by words a lot. So whenever it's just friends would always bring it up and make jokes of it, and I felt very isolated. So I didn't really have too many friends.
How did you cope with it? What was your, escape, rebuttal, protection? How did, or you just thickened over time?
Honestly, I'm lucky that I was able to find a group of people which are a lot older than me. So usually my friend group is between like 22 to even 52, which is Da Vinci. So the friend
you won't like anyone telling you how old he is.
at all. So I mess with them a lot. But yeah, the age group is massively different. And of course, I mean, you're in a more mature environment with people that do the same thing that you do. And that's why I always got respect and appreciation from those people, from the people I work with. That's why I was able to balance off the isolation from school and the recognition outside. It didn't get to me too much.
Are you still, I mean, I imagine back when you were 12, 13, you must have been the youngest one doing this. I mean,
Yes.
are you still the youngest?
No,
or
I don't think so. I don't think
some little whippersnappers coming up.
I think there's a lot of younger guys doing it, and it used to get to my head a lot. I used to be like, I need to be the youngest, and I need to achieve this by the time I'm 16, and nobody's gonna care about me when I'm 18 or 19 because I'm gonna be too old. But now I don't care. Like it really used to be a massive topic in my head, but now I started to the youth director of the Dubai Blockchain Center, and I'm developing financial education programs for kids, because I think what breaks you free from if I want to take the program to third world countries, because I think that financial education is what sets you free from poverty. But even in a first world country or a second world country, learning financial education can let you minimize the amount of time, if that's what you want, that the time you spend working at a 9-to-5 job, and then you do your own thing. Because you invest earlier, you start to make better financial decisions, and you can start doing your own thing at a much younger age. So now my goal is to spread that education to kids that were my age but are not able to find the same support. And I think it's important that all the young kids go into it and learn investing and learn finance.
I think it's very important as well to differentiate business, as in entrepreneurship, and investing, finance investing as well. Mm-hmm. And I say this, let's say from a parental perspective as well, where my eldest daughter, who's now 18 and a bit, I always wanted to push business on her, just because I guess of my love for business and some of the skills that I knew would be transferable to her in many other ways, whether it was marketing or sales or whatever. And she never wanted to, and her mom didn't really, it's not that she didn't agree with me, but she didn't support me in my desire to push. So over the years, she never got into the business, and now she's older, she knows what she wants to do, which is engineering, and that will be probably not an entrepreneurial job. It's most likely, it's not to say it can't be a well-paid job, but it's most likely ultimately, she'll be working for someone else doing that engineering role. But now she's 18, I've kind of flicked from the business side to the investment side to say to her, listen, I tried to push business on you, and I accept that is not going to be your future. But just because you don't want business doesn't mean you shouldn't understand money. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be investing, and that you should be broke effectively. And so now I've been kind of pushing hard on her that like it's Christmas now. My gifts to her and she's not like a spender or a spoiled girl anyway. But my gifts to her, for a birthday a few months back and for Christmas are Bitcoin. Are Ethereum, are
Bitcoin. Wow, that's
no. Is Bitcoin, is Bitcoin, is Ethereum, is gold, is some more traditional tracker funds and things. But what I do is I give her the money to buy them, mm-hmm. But then also I don't particularly say, right, go and buy Bitcoin. I'll say, right, listen, I think you should be looking at, let's say, Bitcoin, Ethereum and gold, for example. Mm-hmm. Here is some educational material to go and understand what they all are. You come back to me and talk to me about which ones you want to buy and why you want to do it. And like I said, she's never gonna. Who knows if she wants to move to business later? I don't know. But I'm working on the assumption she doesn't want to move to business, but she should still have that solid financial understanding that 99.9% of the world don't. That even the six-figure earners and the big six-figure earners still live hand to mouth in their own way, or month to month.
Yeah.
And and the other thing is age. I mean, you were saying a minute ago that you want to, you almost like fight with yourself that are you getting too old, and you want to achieve something by a certain age. And I can say from my perspective, I think one of my biggest mistakes has been that impatient desire mm-hmm. to do so much so soon. And particularly as a 20-year-old guy, you think, I've got to make the money because I want to buy this and I want to get these girls, and I can't get these girls if I'm not not doing this. And all of my biggest mistakes have really come from impatience or greed. Greed, wanting to do things too soon. And I look now, and I'm sure I look ancient to you, but I'm 43. I think what, I'm only 43. I've got
only.
Well, no, but it's funny. No, I say it's funny because no. But when I'm 17, when I'm 25, I look at 35, 45 as ancient. Like a fucking dinosaur. But then I look now and think, well, hang on. I've still got so much life ahead. And if I'd have had whatever the figures were for now, would I be happy? Well, I'd be so happy. And I was saying to my daughter, look, if you can make these investments, make these little investments. Now, we're not talking millions like crypto. I'm saying, listen, if you're putting $500 a month into this, if you're putting $1,000 a month into that, which is so easily achievable for you, never mind the extra lumps that I'll give you along the way, or the things that by the time in 20 years, that'll look like over £1 million.
Hey, Matt here. Just interrupting myself quickly to say thank you for listening to No Bollocks. But did you also know I've got another podcast, Stripping Off with Matt Haycox. Very different. No Bollocks is the quick daily business tactics that you need. But Stripping Off, we go deep, deep, deep with a CEO, with a celebrity, with an athlete, with just an international inspiring character. We find out what makes them tick. We find out how they got to where they got to. And we find out how you can learn and benefit from them too. So jump on over to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you listen to your content. And I'll see you on a future episode.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting stat is, I'm sorry for cutting you.
Please. People will be getting bored listening to me already.
If you actually buy $10 of Bitcoin per day for 10 years, you will end up with $1.4 million. Just $10 a day.
Is that based on some increase in Bitcoin as well?
Yeah, so basically the past decade, you have an average yearly appreciation of 59%. The projection for the next 10 years or 21 years is 27%. So if you buy $10 a day for not 21 years, but for 10 years, you actually end up with $1.4 million. So, and this links to the power of compounding, the power of compound interest, which Einstein said that it's the most powerful force in the universe. And I agree. A lot of the things you see on social media, which is partly why I started doing whatever I started doing, is because I had FOMO. I had FOMO of, okay, all these people are doing amazing things, and I should be doing it as well. I mean, I live in Dubai, arguably one of the best places for opportunity. So I live in a place, I have the resources to do more. So I kind of felt guilty that I had these opportunities, and that's why I wanted to do something more. But the reality is, I mean, for me it worked out, but it couldn't have if I didn't choose the right industry and if I didn't do it consistently. Because I mean, you go on social media and you see all these teenage millionaires and all these, 21-year-old whatever.
If they are, by the way.
If they are, right? So I've met a lot of these people in person, and just know one thing, that the purpose of media, regardless if it's on the phone or if it's a newspaper or on the television, the only purpose is to manipulate a personal brand or a piece of content so that you watch it. It's like, because I do it with my own videos, right? The business is that you click the video. So you engineer the title, you engineer the thumbnail, you engineer the content in a way that it's entertaining. So just don't feel FOMO if you see all these millionaire teenagers and kids and whatever. Don't feel like you're not doing enough. And that's why I don't like to do interviews and highlight 17-year-old millionaire or whatever, because I just think it's a false narrative. It doesn't matter what age you are. Everybody has their own time. Morgan Freeman got his first big role when he was 45 or 47.
You're older than me and you think I'm old.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. I think the most important thing for a young person to do is to try as many things as you can, because that's the luxury you have. You don't have any liabilities of looking after a family, or you don't have to pay rent, or you don't have to pay for a car. That's why I still live with my family, because I love the comfort of getting food on the table and my laundry is getting washed and it feels comfortable. So take advantage of that. It's a luxury you won't have forever. And while you have it, experiment like I did voice acting. I did musical theater. I was doing like, tried to do some e-com stuff with my sneaker business, completely failed. I did a lot of stuff. I had a Minecraft YouTube channel, like a bunch of things. And eventually, by testing and trying, I did sports. I came to what I really enjoy doing, which is crypto. And I would have never known that this would be the thing I would end up doing if I hadn't experimented. And I think that's success, right? Success is doing something you love, making enough money to sustain yourself, and hopefully it's scalable that you can eventually make more in the future. And you get recognition from what you do and respect from what you do, and you can do it from anywhere in the world. I think that if you do this, you don't need millions. You can make 20K, 15K per month. But if it all checks out here, I think you're a very successful person.
I know you say you don't like the label of 17-year-old millionaire, but obviously, you know, people do like some of the juicy facts.
Yeah.
So you said you started when you were 13. I think you'd finished with the musical theatre, and you were using that money to invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever it was you did. And you said you had $1,000.
Yes.
That was all your money to your name.
Yeah. I mean, even since then, I've not, like, since that $1,000, I've never put in new money. It's just started only with that.
And you're going to tell us what you've run that up to?
It's just like, it's over 7. So and that includes like equity in companies and investments, and it's a bunch of things. So it's not liquid. I'm not that rich liquidly, but and I think that's what people mistakenly say in podcasts. Carl is liquid much more. But yeah, it's a combination of brand equity and different things.
Have you been taking money out along the way for I mean, you must have taken something out for personal living. I mean, what kind of a spender are you? I mean, obviously Carl's a fantastic spender, you know, but Bugatti boy and Louis Vuitton's biggest customer. I mean, what about you? You spend much?
I'm a bit of a degen, so I basically spend like 2% of what I make per month. Everything goes back into Bitcoin. So I just, because I don't need to, right? So if I want to get a very nice apartment and a nice car, but I can't drive yet. But I just don't see the need of chasing these things, because I did at one point, and then I realized there's no end to it. Like, you could buy one shoe and then there's always another one, or you can buy, I don't know, this, and there's always another one. So I just like to put everything back into Bitcoin mostly. And I know that in 10 years' time, I'm going to make infinitely much more, that I can buy an apartment or a car or whatever, which is going to be like a very, very small portion of my portfolio.
Well, take it from your granddad Matt, who basically did the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, listen, I absolutely don't live a life of regret. You know, whatever I've done, and I always think that, you know, even if I could or should have changed it, you know, it led to the next thing, which led to the next thing, which led me to where I am today. So it's a pointless and hypothetical conversation. Mm-hmm. But I do look back at so much shit that I've, you know, that I've bought along the way, and then not got the satisfaction or enjoyment from, or, you know, effectively doing exactly the opposite of what you said. That, you know, I think, oh, I'll go and buy this car, or I'll go and buy this house that I can barely afford, if afford at all, and then I'll use that as my motivation to go and, you know, to go and work and earn the money. Mm-hmm. And, you know, okay, yes, maybe 8 times out of 10 I pulled it off, but, you know, the levels of stress and all it really was just a better paid hamster wheel. You know, whereas you know, now I'm old, I you know, very much realise that the benefit of the money has to be the freedom.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to the, you know, the things that you can go shopping for. So if I could be sat in the other chair today, then that's absolutely.
I would like to ask you a question, by the way. I know it's probably very unconventional, but I mean, there was something that I struggled a lot for the past few months, and it was basically 3 years ago. I had certain goals that I wanted to achieve, and I'm grateful that I achieved all of them. And when I did, I was like, okay, what now? Because the roadmap for what I want to do was always so clear in my head. Okay, I'm going to do this, and to do this, I need to do this and this and this, and it's going to come to fruition. But like 2-3 months ago, I was like, okay, now that everything is here, I realize that I can, constantly be chasing something, constantly want to build this and meet this person and do this business. But again, like the materialistic things, that also doesn't have an end. So essentially, even if you're not stuck in a hamster wheel at 9 to 5, you can also get stuck in a hamster wheel with your ambition. So to manage that and not let your ambition control your happiness, what would be the best advice you would give?
So the question is, how do you not let your ambition control your happiness?
Satisfaction and happiness. Yeah.
I don't know if this is answering the question exactly, but I think for me, and I say this after years of experience of doing it wrong, it's finding the things that make you happy for you, as opposed to doing the things that you're probably doing for some other for other people in some way or another, whether that's because you're trying to make somebody else happy or whether you're trying to impress someone to make yourself feel better. And I think, again, if I look at my journey, if you'd have asked me what my goals and success were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the answers would have all been monetary. It's always this big mansion there. I want a private jet. I want this, that, and the other. If you ask me now, would I want a private jet? Of course I would, but I'd answer the question now for a very different reason to back then. 20 years ago, I'd want a private jet because I'd want everyone to know that I've got a private jet. Now, would I want one? Yes, but quite simply because I want to travel. I want to travel quickly and have more comfort. And it's it would be very much for practicality as opposed to ego. But I mean, ultimately, I look at my happiest times now, and it's being with the kids. It's it's chilling at home. It's being able to play paddle tennis when I want to play paddle tennis, or sitting down to read a book or to do the back, or whatever it is. And does that mean I'm not interested in money? No, absolutely not. It doesn't mean that. I am, but I guess for the two different reasons from 20 years ago. Back then it was I want the money because I want to spend. Now it's I need the money because I need to have that freedom and that flexibility to be able to say I've got enough cash to play paddle tennis all week this week without my daughter's ill like she was last weekend. I can call the doctor and not have to worry what it costs for any treatment to get her fixed. And then the other side of I want the money because I still enjoy the game, and the money is the byproduct of the success. It's not so much that I'm going out to look for the money. I'm going out to solve a problem, and if I solve the problem well, then I'm making the money. Do I want to be a billionaire anymore? Do I want to have hundreds and hundreds of millions? It'd be nice, but I really know it's not the goal anymore. But I also know I can't be happy if I earn $2,000 a month either, because I'll be living a life of stress and things. So. And that's probably not a direct answer to your direct question, but I think it gives it kind of gives a context, and I think particularly as well for I say when I look at the crypto guys, and generational thing again, but when I was in my, let's say, late 20s, I was friends with a lot of the poker guys, and back in the kind of late 90s, early to mid 2000s. Poker back then to me was kind of what crypto is now. Nowadays we've got 13 to 17-year-old kids in the bedroom making millions on crypto. Back then there was 17-year-old kids using their dad's PokerStars account and winning competitions and running $5 up to 10 grand, 10 grand up to $500,000 and then into seven figures. And all of these guys, it was like funny money, really, because which I'm sure it is in the same way with crypto, because you don't see first of all you don't see the money, and also you've only ever known it in that ecosystem of poker, or you've only ever known it in that ecosystem of Bitcoin. And I used to play, I'd play poker games with some of these guys, and they after a certain level they'd completely kill me, because I just couldn't get my mentality into the game the way that they could. Where, you know, and I'm sure it's the same. It's the same in crypto. It's the same in investing. That you need to be able to make the right statistical decision every time, regardless of how much money's at play, regardless of what happened yesterday. Like, for example, I don't know, if you're playing roulette and it's black, 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 you just have to know that there's as much chance as it being black or red next, that regardless of the fact there's been 100 blacks, blacks in the past. And these guys, because I guess they're 17, 18, 20, 21, and yes, they might have a couple of million, but they've got this couple of million when they had $10 a few weeks ago, and it's run up. So for them, they can go, yeah, I'll put $50,000 decision down on that hand. I just couldn't do it because I know that my money didn't come from that poker ecosystem. I know what 50 grand really means, you know, and how hard it was for me to earn it, and what I can't do in the real world if I lose it. I don't know how this conversation started and where we're going.
It's the exact same in crypto.
Oh yes, and that's where I was. And so, and I look at all these guys who were all incredible at making money there, but all had massive leaks somewhere else. You know, whether it was that they were incredible poker players, unbelievable mathematical brains and psychological brains, but then whatever they win on the poker table, they go and dump it on roulette or dump it on dice or drugs or hookers or whatever it may be. And obviously time's gone on now, and I still know some of these people, or I know some of them secondhand from guys I do know, and they're all broke. And or not all, but let's say the majority are broke or unhappy or fucked up in some kind of way. And I guess, you know, it's another, the conversations, you know, meandering all over the place here. But I think it really comes down to that, you know, finding the fulfillment in the things that really make you happy, and not all these external influences that are going on for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, in crypto, it's exactly the same. Like, I remember, like, I invested in something, one of the first projects that made me a lot of money, and I told my dad, like, this is how much I made, and he was like, sell immediately, like, take it all out, like, are you joking, like, this is serious? And I'm like, no, it's gonna do another 10x. And I like, of course it went to zero. I didn't listen to him, but I just took that money and I put into something else, and I put into another thing. I bought like a NFT, and yeah, just eventually all faded away. So yeah, it's the same, because you don't understand the value of what's on the screen. It just feels like, you know, a computer game.
And how did it make you feel, you know, suffering those losses? I mean, did it hurt or
at all? Actually, zero.
Because I think, you know, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. Because I think because you're 17, because you live at home, in a way, you kind of don't know what money is.
Yeah, I would agree.
Does that make sense? You know,
especially then, like now when I travel, and you know, like, it's just I understand the relativity of the value of money, if it makes sense. Like, to me, I thought that, you know, traveling, and it is expensive, but you know, booking a ticket, let's say, is not as expensive as I thought it would be. So now that I do more things and actually spend the money, I understand the relativity of certain things. Like, now I know that buying $1,000 shoe is absolutely stupid, because you could actually travel somewhere for $1,000, for example. So then I had no concept of it ever. Because I mean, when you go to a restaurant, my dad pays. I don't even check, right? So
does he still pay?
No. well, when I'm with him, yes. But I mean, now I go out with friends and I go out with people and I pay. So now I know what that value of the money really is. So now my investment decisions I've kind of adjusted it, but I think it's important to kind of forget about that whole real money concept. Like, at one point I got fake wad of cash. And whenever I opened a trade, I actually counted it on the wad of cash and visualized how much money that really is. But that just made me do worse in trading. So I think it's important to completely forget about the real concept and just pretend like it's a game, because that's how you ultimately make the correct investment decision.
You know, when you see on YouTube videos these mountains of cash, Is it normally fake money? I mean, how
yeah.
often has anyone ever got any real
It's
money?
always fake. Like,
Even Floyd Mayweather.
they're all fake. I
Where'd
mean,
you get it from?
you just like it has like a stamp on it saying that it's fake. But what people usually do, I think, is that they just put a real one in the front and real one on the back, and everything in between is fake. And they also do this with, like, you know, Hermes bags and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They never show you what's inside the bag. It's just the bag, which you can buy on eBay for like £250. So this is again linking to don't believe everything you see on social media, because you can easily manufacture things and make it appear as something 1,000 times more than what it really is. And I kind of understood that because I wanted to vlog, and I wanted to do those vlogs and everything. And when I did do it, I'm like, hold on a second, like, this is really glamorous. If I edit it in a way, like, it is very glamorous. So I didn't want to do that because I think it gives the wrong image. But maybe I should. Like, Carl does his vlog channel. It's incredible. It's very inspirational. Like, whenever I feel down, I watch the channel and I feel inspired again. It's the same reason why I bought these shoes, because it somehow symbolizes that you can do more with your life. And whenever you are in a down spot, you know, which everybody is, by the way, like, nobody shares it, but there are so many struggles in life. Everybody has their own struggles, regardless if you have $1 billion or not. There's a word in Turkish, a saying, which I'm trying to translate, but I think it's, every mountain has enough snow for its own. So let's say a small mountain has this much snow, but for it, it's massive, right? But for a bigger mountain, it means nothing. So everybody has problems. We're all human. Even, and I realized this when I met some, you know, people that I really look up to, and celebrities and very famous and rich people, they're also human. Like, there's no difference. It's just social media taking it, glamourifying it, and making you believe that it's different, but it's not the case.
I think as well, you know, listen, we all need that inspiration. You know, we all need that, you know, I guess some light at the end of the tunnel, or some sun on a grey day. I think, you know, it's so important, yet also so equally difficult to find the people to follow to get that inspiration from. Look, you know, we both know Carl, and therefore we know that even when the cameras are off, that's really him.
Yes.
He's really got, you know, he's really got that money. He's really got that lifestyle. He's also, you know, I mean, we were talking about this on our pod the other day, actually, but, you know, I find him still very down to earth with it.
Massively.
You know? I mean, listen, there's a limit to how down to earth you can be in a Bugatti, but he's not, you know, he's not jumping on the front of the Bugatti going, look at my fucking Bugatti, you know, look at my Richard Mille.
I mean, I've known Carl for like 4 or 5 years now, and he is really, like, genuinely one of the most humble people I've met at his league. Because, I mean, when you have over 50 million liquid, essentially you can do anything. Like, the maximum lifestyle you can live with over 50 million liquid. You can travel private, you can do whatever. And some people just show it, but, you know, it matches Carl's brand very well. It's not like, oh, look, I have this and you don't. It's just who Carl is, and I think it's beautiful, and he's really, really humble person.
And I think, you know, where I was going with that was, you know, so if somebody can watch that and take, let's say, what I would call true inspiration, genuine inspiration, correct. What these people don't want to be doing is watching the person who hasn't got they might be earning 10 or 20 grand a month, which is great. Yeah. Not knocking, but they're renting the Ferrari for the day, using the fake Hermes bag and the fake wads of money to go, look at this. And, you know, okay, it might, listen, if we need inspiration, we need inspiration. Maybe it's inspiration on a day you need it, but it's also giving such a false sense of potential achievement, because these guys, I say they haven't achieved anything. Okay, obviously they've achieved something, but they've almost like achieved it in a fake way. Mm-hmm. You know, but I guess, you know, you can look at a Grant Cardone, if we're in more of the bricks and mortar world, and they're still the flashy guys, but the guys who've put the work in and who have genuinely achieved it over years and should be looked at as a true inspiration, as opposed to somebody who's just a good marketeer and can, you know, hold the Hermes bag in front of the camera.
And it's funny because Gary Cardone who's Grant's twin brother. He's a very close friend of mine.
Oh, really?
And
How do you know him?
He recently went all into Bitcoin.
Okay.
and I was texting him on Twitter, and that's how we kind of.
Did he credit card terminals or something? Didn't he?
I think his main business was gas and oil.
Okay.
Gas and oil. So he was like 25 years from the gas and oil industry, equally as successful as Grant, but nobody knows about it, right? So it's all undercover. So there's like, I think developing a personal brand is super important, right? Because it can drive business, it can drive recognition, which ultimately drives business. But there's also a lot of people that are billionaires and infinitely successful that nobody knows about. But yeah, for me, the medium of success was building a presence online. But if you ask me, okay, what would you have loved to have? I would have loved if I had like built a business that has a lot of money, but nobody knows about it. I think that is the best thing you can ask for.
You talk about obviously the opportunities that come from personal branding. For someone in your position, or for someone who aims to build a personal brand in whatever their space is, what can monetization of that brand look like? If it's someone coming to you to sponsor you, or to ask them to do an Instagram post or whatever it may look like. What can monetization look like?
So in the crypto world, for me, it's a bit different. It's like you can be the best actor in the world, but if you don't have a stage to perform, then nobody knows about your acting ability. So for me, it's analysis, and it's being able to guide projects to go to market in the right way in crypto and connect people together. But if you don't have, because crypto is filled with a lot of illegitimate people. So when you build a personal brand, people understand your credibility and that you actually know what you're doing. So for me, it's like a stamp of approval on the skills that I have. Because I could have the same skills, but nobody knows my name, it's a lot harder to do business. So the personal brand for me was just a way that I could show the world that, yes, I know what I'm doing. And of course, business opportunities come with that.
When I was prepping for this, I noticed that you talked about the fact that you'd researched for 6 months.
Yes.
Before going in. So that was back when you were like 13 or 14.
Yeah. So the research started when I was 12.
Okay. And you didn't spend a dollar until that 6 months was over.
No, I wanted to, but I was trying to convince my dad to invest a lot earlier, and he thought it was a scam, so he didn't. And of course, I can't invest on my own. So, and when I asked my friends' parents and whatever, they were like, no, this is not the thing. So this was right before the bull run began in 2020, when you were just breaking from 15,000 and then you went to 64. So my dad and I personally missed it because I wasn't able to invest. And Dogecoin was one I told my dad to buy, which did 100x. And when we missed out, he was like, okay, I guess you are onto something.
Your dad owes you millions.
Technically, but I also owe him a lot. So, which is the fact that, I've just been raised up, so it's fine.
Is it possible for under 18s to buy crypto? I mean, I know on let's say a regulated exchange. So I always talk about my daughter doing stuff when she hit 18, because obviously, prior she couldn't do anything in her own name, in terms of, let's say, legally in the UK. So now she buys her crypto through through a Gemini or through a Revolut, or whatever exchanges she's using. But if you were doing, let's say, unregulated exchanges, cold storage, that kind of stuff, is it possible for 12-year-olds to go and acquire Bitcoin?
Not really. So this is a massive struggle, and I think there should be a sort of a reform in the system where you shouldn't be restricted to being 18 years old to participate in finance. It doesn't make sense. Like, if you can drive a car in the US when you're 15 with a guardian, what is stopping you from being able to invest? Like, it's just, I think this age thing doesn't make sense at all. But what I was able to do is I basically gave my dad the money and he did it with his name. And then currently, it's so funny, I can't sign contracts still. So if there's I need to do a keynote somewhere, or I need to speak at a conference, my mom has to write a letter of consent saying my kid can speak at this conference.
Where does the money go?
I get it because I sign it with, also I do KYB. Right. So know your business instead of KYC. So all the deals that I do, I set up like a marketing agency, which I put my own brand under it.
But are you allowed to own that marketing business?
No, so I give it to, so Carl has the shares.
Okay.
Right? So Carl has the shares, and whenever there's business, it's signed by the marketing agency, and then I basically get the money.
So just going back to that question of, well, it's not a question. I was saying that you did the 6 months of research,
Yeah.
and it was something that kind of that stuck with me for a couple of reasons, really. One, that I guess it
But
shows.
before you go into that, so by the way, if you want to buy Bitcoin as a kid, just tell your parents. Like I did like a small pitch to my dad with a PowerPoint and everything. And if you are getting some sort of passive income from doing chores or maybe a small entrepreneurial thing, or maybe you're editing videos for someone online, just tell your parents about it. And I'm sure if you give them a reasonable cause for investing with especially your own money, they should be able to open an exchange on Binance or Bybit, and you can buy Bitcoin through there.
So you researched for 6 months,
Yeah.
and like I say, it hit home because of the almost non-existent amount of research that that most people do in anything, particularly in something that's as fast-moving as crypto, where in that 6 months of you doing the research, people can be seeing crypto climbing, thinking, "Oh fuck it, I'm missing out here. I've just got to plow in. I've just got to plow in." But also, when you look at the amount of people who invest in crypto now who haven't done 6 minutes research and don't understand anything, and listen, that's not to say that crypto's not a good thing, or that's not to say that any investment opportunity is good or bad, but how many people really invest from a position of knowledge and strength and and discipline, and I guess particularly as a 13-year-old at the time, it was very impressive. I mean, are you still that methodical, disciplined person now? And how would you take what I've said and run with it as some advice to other people?
So when I started, I understood that there was just a normal cycle that Bitcoin and crypto follow. It's the 4-year halving cycle. And it does the same thing over and over again. And really, it's just it is really simple to find success with crypto. If you understand that every 4 years, the price of Bitcoin goes up, it has a high, and then it comes down, does a rounding bottom for like 2.5 years. And then as soon as it breaks the prior all-time high it created in the previous cycle, it goes up again. Like that's just rinse and repeat every 4 years. So I realized that, okay, hold on a second. I don't need to have any FOMO here, because even if I spend the 6 months in research when I was 12, in the next 4 years, I'm going to be 16. So now if I spend time to learn and make sure I get the lessons and I meet people and I have connections in the industry, I can leverage that in the next bull cycle, which is the current one. So to me, the timing was cool because I understood that this will go down again, and that's where you build and you accumulate. And when it goes up, it's human psychology. Like when you see something going up, when you see all the bullishness, like Trump likes Bitcoin and whatever, and Bitcoin hits 100K, like it's just attractive. So people come back, they buy in, and the market dumps. It's always like that. So you just need to be irrational and play the inverse and buy when everybody thinks it's a scam, and sell when everybody thinks it's the best thing in the world.
I guess what I can take from it, from my, let's say, impatient career, is that it's more important to have knowledge and fundamentals and foundations than it is to try and take advantage of one specific opportunity. Because what you learn, obviously I'm not a crypto guy, I understand that enough for a conversation, but I'm a passive buyer as opposed to an active investor. But it's the same principles in any area of business, that when you're young and hungry and you see an opportunity in front of you that looks good, and maybe it is good, but you think, fuck, if I don't do this now, then that's it. I'm never going to make money again. But when you actually step back and learn the business, learn the fundamentals, learn all the skills and the economics and everything you've got to learn, you realize very quickly that there is an unlimited amount of opportunities. Yes. And that, yes, you may miss something today, yes, you may miss something tomorrow, but there are almost infinite opportunities available on a daily basis. You just have to have the skills and the eyes to uncover them.
I completely agree. And I had this issue of just being very upset that I was missing out on things and I was not sleeping at night saying, oh, damn it, I should have done this. But like you said, opportunities always come. And if you miss something and then you waste time having regret about it, then you're constantly missing opportunities. So I had to just train myself to relax and consistently show up to somewhere, which is the office, and have a certain set of tasks that I do every single day. And you always, like, for me, I had the issue of not, and I still do, of not feeling like I do enough in one given day. I feel like there's so much you can do, so many potential opportunities out there that you're not taking them all in and you're not maximizing your productivity every day. And there was a point in my life, which was this year, the start of this year, where I was in the flow state, which is basically a state of where you're doing the thing you love, you make good money from it, it's scalable, it is scaling, you get recognition from it, and it's a combination of all those things. So when you wake up, that's the first thing you want to do. You want to do it all day, every day. And that obsession is what drives success. But also, it can cause huge mental burnout. So in summer, I did this for like 6 months, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, my brain wasn't functioning. Like, I couldn't look at the chart and do the analysis that I could do. It just completely stopped. So that was the first time I experienced a major mental burnout. And that's when I realized that chasing productivity is nice. It gives you self-satisfaction, but it's not always the best thing to do. So what I do right now to grasp opportunity and also feel satisfied is that, okay, I make one video every day, do one show, spend 1-2 hours chasing up with people, finding the business, finding sponsorships, doing the advisory, and then rest of the day, I take it more chill. Ultimately, whatever business, whatever money it is, it's not more important than your health. And I think it's important to realize that and just take it slowly, especially for me, because like you said, 17 is young, 42 is young. Like, there's so much time ahead for both of us that there's no point to overstress and get worried and impact your mental health.
I want to ask you an economics question,
Okay.
which comes off the back of a conversation I had with Carl, plus something you've just said before we wrap up. And I ask you where I should be sticking my crypto money.
Yes.
You said something. I'll probably butcher it, but you said a few moments ago that if you invest $10 a day,
Yes.
For 10 years, that with the 27-29%, whatever it was, predicted increase on Bitcoin, you'd have something like $1.3 million
Correct.
by the end of that period. I want to know where you think we're going to be in 10 years' time, because when I was talking to Carl the other day...
Oh, you must have said something crazy, yeah.
Well, it wasn't so much crazy, but that he put let's say a finite timescale on it, but he is very much of the belief that in the probably not too distant future, fiat money is going to be as good as worthless, and the world will be based off Bitcoin. So I guess my question to you is, as exciting as having $1.3 million sounds in 10 years' time, and it sounds achievable by everybody, because no matter how broke you are, you can probably find $10 a day.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that $1.3 million is going to be valuable in 10 years' time, or do you think we're going to be in some financial apocalypse?
So if you look at not necessarily the dominant countries, but if you look at Myanmar, Ethiopia, even Turkey, where I'm from, the currencies are started to go in a hyperinflationary exponential curve, where the money is just constantly losing its value, and there's a huge debasement of currency. And eventually, like, if you look at the U.S. national debt, you're at $37 trillion. January 2025, we have the debt ceiling, and Trump just said that let's abolish it. In quick terms, what the debt ceiling is, as a reserve currency country, meaning if you're the US and everybody's using the dollar dominantly across the world, you have the power to print more of it to export it. The biggest income of the US is the dollar export. They make money from exporting their own currency to other countries. So as the reserve currency country, you have the power to print more of it. And obviously, if you do have that power, you're going to use it to invest in infrastructure, to pay off other existing debts to other countries, et cetera, et cetera. But the more you do this, the more dependent you become on printing more money to pay off for things. You don't focus on developing business or developing things that bring in revenue, because you may as well just print. And eventually, it's going to pile up so much, like it's doing so right now, where it's tens of trillions of dollars that is impossible to be paid back. How are you supposed to pay off a $40 trillion national debt? It's impossible. And I read something on Twitter the other day. It's like, a guy was like, where do we owe this money to? Is like, we owe this money to Pluto? Like, what's happening? Where is this money being created? But we're creating the money ourselves. So it's a huge Ponzi scheme that people will eventually realize, and it's going to be a very tough realization. They say eventually, then they say no. It's like you wait for so long, and then suddenly it happens. And that's the crisis that we're going to face all across the world. I don't know if it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years. What I do know for a fact that currently it's incredibly concerning, and the piling of debt is massive. And that's why Trump wants to buy Bitcoin, because he does believe that Bitcoin will go exponential in its value. And if he puts enough money from the US Treasury into Bitcoin, he can scoop up at least a portion of that national debt. And he's doing this because the Eastern countries, they're buying up gold to do the same thing. And Trump is like, okay, you know what? I want to try Bitcoin. So we're going to a very interesting place in the world. I don't think that Bitcoin will ever be used as a means of, okay, I'm at the grocery store and I'm going to buy this water or buy this chocolate with Bitcoin, because the technology is not designed for that. But I do think it's going to be the primary source of storing wealth. Like, if you go 20 years in the future, I would argue that people would not even know what gold is. Like, just the way that we don't send postcards to anyone to send messages. I think...
I'm surprised you know what one is.
Right? Like, my sister, who's 11, she has no clue what a postcard is, or what, you put something in a post office and it goes to someone. So eventually that's going to eradicate. And I think people, instead of thinking about gold, they're going to think about Bitcoin.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, buddy.
Likewise. Thank you.
Amazing conversation. Intelligent, humble, and rich.
Thank you. Thank you.
What more can someone ask for? But don't go without telling us your crypto investment opportunity of, I say 2025. So for context, we're recording this a couple of days before Christmas 2024. This will probably be live in very early January 2025. So if you're listening to this, end of 24, beginning of 25, where are we putting our money?
I think it's important to have a major portion of your portfolio always in Bitcoin. And it's important to not buy everything just in one shot. Dollar cost averaging consistently, using the law of compound interest, that is the most important thing you can do. And the reason why it's so powerful and why nobody does it is because it sounds simple, but nobody has the patience or effort to consistently buy something $10 every single day for 10 years. Nobody does it. And the people that do, they end up with a lot of money. So what I would tell you is just buy Bitcoin consistently, regardless if it's 100K, 200K, $1 million per Bitcoin. It's just going to tend to infinity. And in terms of my price prediction for Bitcoin, I think we can very much reach the $200,000 area next year. But just be mindful that 2026 is going to be likely a time of huge depression in all of the economies. So buy now, sell in 2025, not your Bitcoin, but the other altcoins, and rebuy back again in 2027. Apart from Bitcoin, though, I think Ethereum is currently at 3.5, massively undervalued, should go to 10.
When? 2025?
This cycle, yeah, 2025. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, super undervalued, 30 cents currently. There's a whole department of government efficiency, Doge. So that should also run like massive. If you focus on these three cryptos and watch the Crypto Kid channel and the Moon Show, I'm sure you'll find cool opportunities.
Efe, thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.